Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be looking at online resources for vintage paperback collectors, and this is like the 2022 edition. So I did do one of these probably a year and a half ago, and things have changed a little bit, and there's some new channels that I've discovered here on YouTube, some new Facebook groups and some new places to actually buy vintage paperbacks, and that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get to it. So we'll start off with other YouTube channels that I watch that are sort of book related, and the first one is my friend over in America, Gary Lavisi. So Gary's been a collector of vintage paperbacks for many years. He also sells online. He's an author himself, and of course publisher of Paperback Parade magazine. Gary has got a few hundred videos now on YouTube looking at all aspects of vintage paperback collecting, and there is guaranteed to be something there that will tickle your fancy. Some great content, and Gary's collection is just outstanding. You'll be drooling, I reckon. Then the next channel we've got is a friend of mine, Steve Andrews. Steve and I used to work together many years ago, and Steve's now launched his own channel here on YouTube called the Outlaw Bookseller. Recently just hit 1,000 subscribers, a bit like Gary, so congratulations to you both. And Steve's actually filmed his own little intro.
Hello, I'm Stephen E. Andrews, Outlaw Bookseller. Welcome to this little look at my channel, courtesy of Jules, Burt. What am I doing here, you ask? Well, Jules and I used to work together 10 or 11 years ago, and we'll tell you about that more in an upcoming video we're going to shoot when we visit Hay on Wye. But here's a little insight into who I am, what my channel is, and what I do. I've worked in the book trade for 38 years as a bookseller, bookshop manager, copywriter, editor and author. I'm the author of 3 books in this series, the Bloomsbury Good Reading Guide series. This is the best-selling one on science fiction, so there's a lot of science fiction content on my channel. I also write for things like Deep Ends, the annual J.G. Ballard anthology, where I contribute short fiction, essays, what have you, and I YouTube. So the next sort of few minutes is to show you some clips from my videos and the sort of things that I do. And I hope you'll join me here in my hideout at Outlaw Bookseller. This is the first edition, the first hardcover edition, the world first hardcover edition. The true first edition, of course, is the Ace paperback, which looks like this. When I worked for them, I was running a shop, and they also got me to read manuscript and advise them on bids for books they were thinking of buying, SF books they were thinking of buying, because that was the year that Neuromancer came out. Some children's material. Look at this very nice display of New Naturalist hardcovers there. Very collectible, expensive, very beautiful as well. Nice penguin window there. My friend Jules Burt would love that, though his penguin collection must be pretty much nearly complete now.
You remember that?
Yes. Hard-boiled former boy soldier E. Allen Limit manages the mutated staff of the company brothel at the Phoenix Egg Ranch, a battery hen factory populated by giant genetically engineered fowl whose intelligence matches their huge body size. On the channel we do books of all kinds, primarily SF, but lots of other things as well, genre fiction, modernism, literary fiction, bits and pieces, whatever takes my fancy. It's an interdisciplinary channel and we do all sorts of things. I do out and about videos, usually with lots of literary references, some things on rock and roll and collecting that way, and all sorts of other stuff, whatever takes my fancy really. But if you like books, you'll love Outlaw Bookseller, I guarantee it.
Here's another little channel I like, Pulp Vinyl, Redbeard, Horror Books and Vinyl. And although not hundreds of videos, it's quite a new little channel. What's on there, particularly in the horror paperback sort of genre, I've really enjoyed looking at some videos on the Pan-Book horror stories. The Dennis Wheatley Library of the Occult I enjoyed as well. So do go over and check that channel out. He's not posted for a little while, so I hope he's not given up, because there's some really great stuff there for you to enjoy. So go and show that one you love. So here's the Paperback Warrior podcast alongside Hark, the 87th Precinct Ed McBain podcast, and the Six Gun Justice podcast hosted by Paul Bishop. Now, unfortunately, Paperback Warrior only releases an episode every now and again, but I do urge you to either watch them here on YouTube or track them down in your podcast player of choice, because all of these are worth your time. This is another YouTuber I enjoy, Shawn D. Standfast. Shawn's got a very, very eclectic mix of books in his library, and he often does readings and recent pickups and things like that. He's very much in touch with BookTube, as they call it. So worth a look to see if Shawn is going to have some content that you'll enjoy. I think he probably will. This is Phil Harbottle, 1950s British science fiction. Once again, Phil's not posted for a little while, a month or so, so I hope all is well. But once again, an incredible collection of stuff. Philip's been collecting since the earliest days of science fiction, and he has got some really incredible stuff in his library. And here's a little example, just a fraction of some of the cool stuff that Philip owns. Very knowledgeable chap. This is David Avallone, son of Michael Avallone, the famous 60s author, penned hundreds of books under various pseudonyms. David himself is a Pulp fan, and he goes through different aspects of some stuff that his father wrote, and also just looking at sort of 60s and 70s pop culture in general. Recommended. Once again, doesn't post that often, but it's worth subscribing and going back through the back catalogue. This is the Science Fiction Reads channel. This is a Canadian YouTuber called Matt. Once again, obviously sci-fi based, science fiction based, and although quite young, Matt's got lots of potential, and I can see this channel doing very well in the long run. Now we're looking at online Facebook groups. So this is either through the app or online, and these are the ones that I'm a member of, and you might enjoy as well. Starting off with the men's adventure paperbacks of the 20th century, and to find these, of course, you just need to go into the search box, click under groups, then type in the exact name that you're seeing here, and request to join each group. You might find, like I do, that you like to have many groups. You've got a bit of a variety coming through, and if it's a particular series, then just look for that series. This is men's adventure magazines and books, and I have covered a little bit of men's adventure magazine content on my channel, and there's a Men's Adventure Quarterly, which is a fantastic magazine, so look out for those videos on the channel. This is a Vintage Penguin, classic books to buy or swap. Just a place to trade classic penguins. See the odd bit or piece turn up on there. This is the Vintage Paperback and Pulp forum. This is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sort of classic paperback group online. I think it's got about 13 or 14,000 group members, so worth your time to take a look at this. This is the Vintage PB and Pulp forum. This is another one which has got some good stuff. I don't really do a lot on the pulps on my channel, but there's some great resources out there. And as with any of the things that you see, if you think there's a site I've missed or overlooked or think should be included, just leave a link in one of the comments down below, and I'll make sure it gets added to the description. This is another one, Vintage Paperback Books. This tends to concentrate on the really early Second World War and earlier paperbacks, a little bit of late 40s, early 50s, but predominantly that era. Once again, quite a lot of interesting stuff on there. Vintage paperback book covers. Does exactly what it says on the tin. All sorts of stuff comes this way. Buy, sell and trade vintage paperback books, another sort of trading site, and it can't be overlooked that this can be a great resource for finding stuff. I bought a few things direct from another collector through a Facebook group, and they tend to be pretty good value for money if they're not done through eBay, which comes with all the associated fees. And here's just one example of a dedicated group, this one dedicated to the world of James Bond collectible paperbacks and books. of which there are many. This is a particularly good one, but there's dedicated groups for all manner of things, so just look up what you're interested in and you'll find a Facebook group for it, almost certainly. And that's just on Facebook. What a resource for stuff, eh, if you're into vintage paperbacks. So now we'll look at actual physical publications. So we all like to actually read books, and here's a couple of copies of Gary Lavisi's Paperback Parade, and I'll flick through these just so you can have a look. This was a bit of a Star Trek special, this particular one, but over the years, and Paperback Parade's been going a long time now, over 20 years, maybe even approaching 30 years, I'm not quite sure, but over that time, you know, almost every subject has been covered in some form of detail. But it's a quarterly, so 4 issues a year, and you can buy these direct from Gryphon Books. There'll be links to all of this in the description down below, so don't worry about rushing off right now. I have curated everything into one place, so you can just use it as a bit of a landing spot to get your if there's anything you want to buy yourself. But yeah, Paperback Parade, a real good magazine. You see it's expertly produced there for the discerning paperback collector. Good stuff. And next we got the latest couple of issues from the Vintage Penguin Collectors Society. They publish 2 of these a year, the Penguin Collector. Very high quality publication this. Learned writers writing about all aspects of penguin cover design, and authors and content and history. Very, very in depth, as you would imagine. So there's 2 books like that each year. There's my little piece on Dare the Triffids. And then they also produce a one-off standalone publication each year, which comes as part of your subscription. And once again, that's always a really nice, lavish, high-quality affair. And the most recent one was this, which was vintage advertising, wartime advertising in the Vintage Penguin books, which was that particular wartime blemish, which most of the publishers did to gain a little bit of extra revenue. So that one comes out twice yearly. And then these are the latest few publications over the last sort of year or so from Justin Marriott. Justin's a British editor and writer and collector. He's done this one. This is one of his later ventures, Battling Britons, looking at classic war comics and digests and pulps. Fantastic stuff. A great little subgenre, one he's very much into at the moment. And these come recommended. There's like an issue of the Paperback Fanatic. That particular one was on Belmont Tower Books, but lots of issues of these online, earlier ones. This is Paperbacks at War. It was 150 war-related titles. Fantastic, this one. I absolutely loved it. Went through and was making lists of books that I was looking to track down after reading this. That comes recommended. And then his most latest recent venture is Paperback Fantastic, and that's the first 2 of 3 volumes. These are edited by Justin Marriott, various contributors, and layout and design by Bill Cunningham. Very, very nice, as you can see. So they've done the science fiction one and they've done the fantasy one so far. So now I'll take a look at a few websites that I like to frequent. Start off with my friend Tim, who does ticket.net. This is the one dedicated to vintage pan book collectors. Absolutely fantastic website this, and Tim does update it every single week with his new Pan Fans blog. Always got something interesting on there. But it also has a complete catalogue of every pre-1970 pan title, and quite a bit after that, to be honest, nowadays. And little subsections for all the full catalogue, and then sections on different authors, for example, original artwork. Just superb. An absolute goldmine, and a resource that if you're into collecting pan books you could not do without. It's just brilliant. Another fantastic site, basically the equivalent of ticket.net. This is penguinfirsteditions.com. This site attempts to list every single pre-ISBN Penguin book, including all the foreign releases, so it's all the American ones as well as the European wartime releases, French ones, Italian, Egyptian. They're all on here. Even all the Forces Book Club titles. It's very, very comprehensive indeed. To be honest, it puts the Penguin Collectors Society site to shame. This is really quite, I mean, it's an incredible effort that someone's put in here, and they deserve nothing but praise. It's just so good. Here's another great website, and it's more a blog than anything, Paperback Revolution. And an awful lot of work has gone into this one, but once again, I don't think it's been updated for quite a while now, so I'm not sure if the owner of this site has sort of lost a bit of momentum, or is just not collecting anymore. I don't know, but what a fantastic collection this person's got, and really sort of accurate and studious analysis of some of these pre-war publishers, which is what it specialises in. Pre-war and wartime, I think, because there's a whole section devoted to the services editions, which I find fascinating, and he does collect those from all different British publishers, and this section makes very, very interesting reading indeed. And now finally, this is the website for the Penguin Collectors Society. And although there's not a lot in the way of monthly news, I mean, we are talking about the old penguins here, it's not like there's something happening every day. They do have a good shop where they've got about 80 or so publications that you might want to dip into, and that's worth a look. If there is a particular aspect of penguin you're interested in. I know a few people went there on the back of my May Gray Simonon video recently and bought the Penguin Collector's Edition on Simonon by James Mackay. Now, where to buy books? Well, many places. Obviously, one that I use a lot is eBay. You do need to do your homework with these, and you do need to really drill down into the results. If you just type in vintage paperback, you're going to get all sorts of stuff come back, so narrow it down by publisher or by author. Title can be another way if you're looking for a particular title, but it's a bit of a long old slog, but it can be worth it. And to be honest, that's really the way for most sites that you're going to visit online. Not all of them, as we'll see in a minute, but most of them. ABE Books is the same. You can't just narrow it down to vintage paperback. You need to go into at least by publisher or by era. One good way you can search on these sites is you could search by date. So you could put, say, I only want books from 1935 to 1945, and it will give you books within that time period. And that goes for ABE Books, which is this one, and also Biblio, which is the next one we're going to see. Sort it by date can actually be quite beneficial. Here is Biblio. And they've got quite a bit more beyond just listings, and they've got some good stuff about book repair, care, storage. They do lots of good articles on like signed books and particular series to collect. There's a bit more in it, in Biblio than ABE Books, I think, and it's a better design. This is Zardoz Books, under the name All You Need Is Books. Not the most user-friendly website, and quite a bit of what's on there article-wise is many years out of date. However, the actual catalogue, I believe, on the whole, is pretty much up to date. So I believe you can just reserve the books, and they then come back to you with a price, or you have to pay up front, and then anything that's not in stock you get refunded back. At least that's what's happened in my experience. But yeah, it's quite a bit to go through. I just don't think it's laid out quite as nicely as you might hope, but you know, there's a lot of stock there. Now this is from Drew, the Penguin chap, and Drew was kind enough to send along a little video for us to enjoy. And Drew is of course a Penguin specialist dealer. Yes, I've had a few orders off Drew over the years, in fact more than a few, and they're recommended. And let's not forget, there are a surprising amount of books you can find on places like Etsy, Pinterest, and of course those various Facebook groups where you can buy them direct off a collector. And don't forget to support your second-hand bookshop whenever you can. Thanks for that, Drew. So there you go. I hope that's given you a few pointers towards finding some books yourself, and given you perhaps a few websites or podcasts or channels that you've not seen or listened to on your vintage paperback collecting. I've certainly enjoyed putting this together, and I will do another one of these in another year or so's time. But if you have enjoyed today's video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.